Hey guys, thank you for watching. I'm Tara Long and thanks for coming to my channel. I just started another round of my Be Free course, and last night was the introduction, and we talked about living in the public versus living in the private and the differences there. And so when you're living in the public, you are considered a debtor, that you are in debt always, perpetually, till the end of time. You are in debt, right? There are all kinds of things that we are in debt to, and people, places, things, all of that. We are seen as a debtor, right? As a dead entity, acting in just asking for permission for things all the time. Can I do this? Can I do that? Let me get my permit. Let me get my license. Let me get, we are in debt, which means we are in a perpetual state of lack, of not enoughness, which is, of course, like one of the main wounds, or maybe the major wound that we all carry with us, not only from this lifetime and our childhoods, but also from our ancestors, from past lives, if you believe in that. So we are continuing that cycle of debt, of being in lack, of saying, I need to give you my precious life force in order to try to make myself good enough, but it never will. There'll always be some other form of debt that we'll be enslaved in, right? Whether it's taxes for this or taxes for that, or your credit cards or your loans, and no mortgage that most people have. If they buy a house, they have a mortgage, right? This has all been put in place for us to remain in a sense of lack, not enoughness, and never being able to get out of it if we stay in that system, or if we believe that's who we are. It doesn't mean you can't act in that system. It doesn't mean you can't act in the public. If you feel there's a benefit for you there, that's, a lot of people do, and they live in the private in some ways, and then other ways, they still have a driver's license, for example. There's no judgment either way. It's just knowing that you are not that. You are not the debtor, and you never have been. You never were. You were born a beautiful, abundant being from the very beginning, and that's what you've always been. But we were taught and conditioned to believe that now we have all these things to prove ourselves around and make up for, and I could go more into that, but I think you get the point. On the other end of the spectrum, well, is it the other end of the spectrum? But remembering, as if everything here in our realm that we live in is duality, right? So if you've got lack, then you've got abundance, absolute and total abundance, which is the truth, which is why it feels so good to think about. It does not feel good to think about being in lack and having to pay this and owe this person and owe, the government taxes and et cetera, if you really felt into it. Which, if you're here listening to this, you probably have, or want to, or are. So we are born living beings, living men and women, and which you could say is in the private, right? We are born, and we're flesh and blood and consciousness and love, and that's our natural state. We are inherently that. I don't believe humans are inherently bad and have evil. All that is conditioned. That's not the truth, and it never has been. So as a living, breathing, flesh and blood man or woman living in the private, you could say living in the private, right? You are a creditor, not a debtor, you're a creditor. So that means there is endless flow of abundance of the, I always think to myself, I always if I ever am feeling a moment of lack, or, have a thought of lack, I remind myself, being a feminine polarity, that I am the golden chalice, right? It's just abundance just poured into me endlessly, effortlessly, always, because that is our truth, right? So as a creditor, you come to the understanding that there is no debt. There is no debt. There's nothing to repay. It has all been, and in my course we talk about what that means, even on a practical level. What do you mean there's no debt? What do you mean I don't actually owe, my mortgage or my loan or my credit card? That doesn't make sense. I signed for that. I have to pay for that, right? There's no debt. It doesn't exist, and it never has. So, and in all these other ways of remembering, giving yourself permission to say, oh, I don't need to pay. Okay, well, I can revoke my election to pay taxes, because actually that's not the truth. That's not the truth. I don't have to do that, and I never have. They've always been voluntary. For example, that's a practical example. There's all these ways, that we can come to remind ourselves to the understanding that we are the creditor, that we are the value, we are the abundance, we are an ever-flowing energy of soul, of our consciousness. And we've never been in lack. It's just not the truth. So this is a different way to look at these things of private and public, and are you debtor, are you creditor? So this is up to you to know who you are. I know who you are, but it's up to you, and that's part of being a sovereign being, right? Is taking that responsibility to know these things for yourself, and to do whatever work needs to be done on the inside and on the outside for you to remember this, and to know this, and to embody this, and to walk in the world as the creditor, as knowing who you are, to walk in the world in this way and create and claim your law. That's up to you, and only you. No one else can do that for you. So thank you so much for listening and being here with me today. If you have questions, comments, please put them below. I'd love to hear from you. If this was helpful, anything else that you would like to hear about around natural law that I can share in these shorter videos. And if you want more, if you're ready to take the action, to go for it to your level of comfort, right? Because we can go baby steps. So we can take years to do these things. We can do it, as fast or as slow as we want. If you're ready for that, you can go to my website, taralong.com. I'll put it all below, TARAHLONG.com, and you can go to my natural law page or tab, and you'll see the details for my course. And I just started. I don't know when I'll be doing it again. But you can get on my my email list, and then I'll let you know when I'm doing it again, sometime this year at some point. Also, I do consultations, so if you're ready to get started now, we can do it that way. And I have a free hour-long video where I go into more detail about living in the private versus living in the public, and what that's all about. So thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.